Chapter 1, The Gate of All Wonders. From Commentaries on the Dao De Jing by Huang Yuanji, a Qing-Dynasty inner alchemy master. We live in an age of fragmentation, our attention scattered, our vitality drained by constant demands. We sense there is more to life, a deeper wholeness, but the gate seems hidden. In this new lecture series, we will journey deeply into the commentaries on the Dao De Jing through the living insight of the Qing Dynasty inner alchemy master Huang Yuanji. Specifically, we will be studying his oral teachings on the Dao De Jing, recorded and compiled by his disciples into what is known as the Dao De Jing Lectures or Commentaries on the Dao De Jing. These are not abstract philosophical notes. They are the crystallization of a practitioner's lived realization, words spoken from the furnace of cultivation. For serious Taoist practitioners, this text is not merely interesting. It is precious. It is a map back to wholeness. Today we begin with Chapter 1 of the Dao De Jing, the most quoted, most famous, and perhaps most misunderstood chapter in the entire classic attributed to Laozi. Huang Yuanji gave this chapter a title, The Gate of All Wonders. Even before we open the text, that title already tells us something profound. This is not merely an introduction. It is not a preface. It is a gate. And not just any gate, but the gate through which all subtle transformations, all mysteries, all realizations must pass. Today our task is to carefully unpack how Huang Yuanji understood this chapter, and more importantly, how he transformed its philosophy into concrete inner alchemical practice. Because for him, theory without cultivation was empty, and cultivation without understanding was blind. If you are drawn to the Dao De Jing, and especially to the hidden teachings of inner alchemy woven within its lines, then I warmly invite you to subscribe, like, and follow this channel. Let us walk together in the footsteps of Huang Yuanji, and gradually learn to enter what Laozi called the Gate of All Wonders. This is not merely a study of a classic text. It is a journey inward, toward clarity, stillness, and awakening. I look forward to exploring it with you. 1. The opening lines, the unspeakable Tao. Let us begin with the text itself. The Tao that can be spoken is not the constant Tao. The name that can be named is not the constant name. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The named is the mother of the 10,000 things. Therefore, constantly without desire, one observes its subtlety. Constantly with desire, one observes its manifestations. These two arise from the same source but differ in name. Together they are called mystery. Mystery upon mystery, the gate of all wonders. These lines are short, but they contain the entire architecture of Taoist cosmology and inner cultivation. Huang Yuanji begins with the first tension. Tao that can be spoken is not the constant Tao. If the Tao cannot be spoken, then what are we doing here? Huang's answer is subtle. He says, whatever can be spoken is only Tao's manifestation. It is Tao appearing in movement, in function, in differentiation. But the constant Tao, the eternal Tao, is prior to expression. Words are not false, but they are provisional. They point, but they do not contain. This is why the tradition often says, language is the finger pointing to the moon. If you cling to the finger, you miss the moon. For Huang Yuanji, this distinction is not philosophical hair-splitting. It is foundational for cultivation. If you mistake the concept of Tao for Tao itself, you remain trapped in thought. If you use words as a guide, but then turn inward, you begin to approach realization. 2. Nameless and named, cosmology as inner map. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. Huang explains that nameless refers to the primordial undifferentiated state, before polarity, before yin and yang, before heaven and earth separate. But this is not empty nothingness. It is a state of latent fullness. He describes it as a condition in which heaven, earth, and all beings are already contained in potential, like a seed that has not yet sprouted. Then comes the decisive moment. After prolonged stillness, the qi mechanism stirs. This sentence is crucial. In the great stillness of the nameless, qi moves. From this stirring arises the great harmony qi, the primordial vitality. From this vitality, differentiation unfolds. Heaven rises, earth condenses, the 10,000 beings emerge. This movement from stillness to motion, from nameless to named, is not only cosmology, it is also the template of inner alchemy. In cultivation, we reverse the outward dispersion of life. We return to stillness. We settle the mind. We refine the breath. And in that deep stillness, internal qi stirs again, not in chaotic outward dispersion, but in harmonious inward circulation. The macrocosm is mirrored in the microcosm. What Laozi describes as cosmic creation, Huang Yuanji interprets as inner awakening. 3. The role of qi. The bridge between Tao and form. For Huang Yuanji, qi is not merely energy in a modern sense. Qi is the dynamic mediator between the invisible and the visible. Tao in its essence is beyond form. But qi is the first movement, the first ripple. It is both process and substance. It is both function and material. This is why inner alchemy pays such careful attention to breath. Breath is the most accessible expression of qi. It is where stillness and movement alternate in every moment. Inhalation corresponds to yin, to return, to stillness, to the nameless. Exhalation corresponds to yang, to expression, to manifestation, to the named. If one refines breath consciously, not forcing, not manipulating, but gently regulating, one begins to touch the pivot where stillness becomes motion and motion returns to stillness. That pivot is what Huang calls the mysterious pass. 4. The two observers. Wu Yu, without desire, and You Yu, with desire. The text gives us a direct instruction. Therefore, constantly without desire, one observes its subtlety. Constantly with desire, one observes its manifestations. These two, without desire, and with desire, are not two different people. They are two modes of the same aware mind. When you sit quietly and the stream of thoughts begins to settle on its own, without force, without suppression, and there is no reaching, no grasping, no subtle leaning toward experience, this is what the sages call without desire. It does not mean dullness. It does not mean blankness. It does not mean pushing the world away. It means there is no movement of acquisition in the heart. In that state, you are not standing apart from experience looking at something as an object. There is no observer over here and something observed over there. Awareness is simply aware of itself. Clear, open, uncontrived. This is what is meant by observing the subtle. The subtle is not a thing. It has no shape, no color, no boundary. It is the silent, formless potential from which all experiences arise. It is the unmoving source. But then, perhaps a bird calls in the distance, or a sensation flickers in the body, or a thought forms like a ripple across still water. Something appears. And awareness, without leaving its stillness, naturally illuminates that appearance. It does not chase it. It does not resist it. It simply knows it, clearly and immediately. This responsive clarity is what the text calls desire, not craving, not attachment, not the restless hunger that pulls the mind outward. Rather, it is the Tao expressing itself as luminous responsiveness, the innate capacity of awareness to meet whatever arises. This is observing the manifestations. The subtle is the unmoving source. The manifestations are the 10,000 things arising within it. When you remain without grasping, you abide in the subtle. When you allow appearances to arise and be known without losing stillness, you witness the manifestations. Stillness and responsiveness. Source and expression. Without desire and with desire. They are not two separate states to alternate between. They are two aspects of the same living awareness, like the ocean and its waves. The ocean does not cease to be deep because waves appear, and the waves are nothing other than the ocean itself. The genius of Laozi is that he tells us, the gate is not in choosing one over the other. The gate is in the seamless flow between them. Both are necessary. 5. Mystery, Shun, stillness and movement unified. These two arise together and are called mystery. Huang emphasizes that mystery is not vague obscurity. It is depth. It is subtlety beyond coarse perception. In deep stillness, one perceives the subtle. In dynamic engagement, one perceives the pivot of manifestation. When these two are no longer opposed, when stillness and movement circulate naturally, this is mystery upon mystery. Mystery upon mystery is not just a repetition. It is a deepening. The first mystery is realizing that stillness and movement, emptiness and form, come from the same source. The second mystery is living from that realization, where every movement is filled with the quality of stillness, and every stillness is vibrant with potential. It is the sage who, in the midst of action, remains unmoved, in the depths of meditation, is ready to respond. This is both the path and the gate. 6. The mysterious pass, the inner gate. Now we enter the most practical section of Huang Yuanji's teaching. He says, the place to begin cultivation is the single aperture of the mysterious pass. But what is it? It is not a physical organ. It is not a measurable anatomical point. It cannot be fixed in space. He describes it as between one inhalation and exhalation, between heart and kidneys, at the arising point of thought, where spirit and chi conjoin. It is existent yet non-existent. In modern terms, we might say it is a functional pivot, a dynamic interface between consciousness and vitality. When a thought first stirs, before it becomes language, that subtle arising point is connected to this mysterious pass. When breath transitions from inhale to exhale, that subtle pause is connected to this pass. Cultivation begins by gently placing awareness in this region, not forcing, not visualizing rigidly, but resting awareness in the empty center. 7. The stages of practice. Huang Yuanji outlines a remarkably structured path. Stage 1. Initial stillness. Sit upright, relax the body. Let 10,000 thoughts fall away. Allow the breath to become fine, slow, even, and quiet. Place awareness lightly in the center between heart and kidneys. This is foundational. Without stability here, nothing deeper can arise. Stage 2. Union of spirit and chi. As stillness deepens, spirit and chi begin to gather. One may experience a state described as vague yet luminous, not dullness, not distraction. This is not sleep. It is alert quietude. Spirit, awareness, and chi vitality, condense toward unity. Stage 3. Preserve illumination. Here lies great danger. One must extinguish the moving mind but not extinguish awareness. Many practitioners fall into dull blankness. That is not Tao. Huang says, eliminate the moving mind but do not eliminate the illuminating mind. Clear yet inactive. Bright yet without grasping. Stage 4. Observing subtlety and manifestation. As internal movement arises, observe it. When stillness returns, rest in it. Do not interfere. Do not analyze. This dynamic circulation of stillness and motion refines the elixir. 8. The critical turning point. One awakening. At a certain depth, after long stability, there may occur what Huang calls one awakening. It happens in profound quietude. Suddenly, without intention, there is a flash. Not conceptual, not emotional. A pure, root-level awareness ignites. Huang says, heaven and earth are born from this one awakening. The golden elixir forms from this one awakening. This is the pivot of transformation, but it is extremely subtle, like lightning in darkness. If one is scattered, one misses it. If one is dull, one misses it. If one is stable and clear, one recognizes it. Then begins the final task, protect it. Huang compares it to protecting an infant. Guard it carefully. Do not let it dissipate. Gradually it stabilizes. Gradually, it becomes luminous continuity. 9. Why this matters now. We live in an age of overstimulation, constant information, constant reaction, constant outward dispersion. Huang Yuanji's teaching points in the opposite direction, not as escape but as completion. He reminds us that awareness can be refined, vitality can be gathered. Stillness is not emptiness but potential. Awakening is not mystical fantasy but a natural possibility of consciousness. Perhaps you have experienced moments of deep stillness, when everything felt spacious. Perhaps you have experienced sudden clarity, like lightning. Huang would say, pay attention. These may be faint reflections of the gate of all wonders. That faint glimmer is the light of the one awakening trying to shine through. That subtle stirring is the qi of the mysterious past beginning to move. The gate of all wonders is not guarded by angels or demons. It is guarded only by our own distraction. So, in this moment as this lecture ends, can you find it? The space between your last thought and the next? The pause at the crest of your next inhalation? The Tao is not elsewhere. The mysterious past is not somewhere far away. The gate is within, and it is already open. This concludes our first lecture on Chapter 1, The Gate of All Wonders. In the next lecture, we will continue exploring how Huang Yuanji unfolds the hidden structure of inner alchemy embedded within the Dao De Jing. If you found this exploration meaningful, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, may your breath be quiet and your awareness clear.